Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford and I'm excited to be here with you again on E360 TV where we have an amazing guest. We're going to be talking about the power of perfume. And we've all heard the terms business owner, entrepreneur, but what about a entrepreneur? Let's unpackage what that means. What has Sue done in the world? She's been in fragrance for over 30 years with companies like Elizabeth Arden, Lancome, VP of Tiffany. She's even designed and customized fragrances. So in just a moment, we'll be back with none other than the amazing Sue Phillips. How's it going, Sue?
Hello, good morning. Everything is good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. So where are you in the world today?
Right now I'm in Manhattan, New York, and it's a pleasure to be with you and see you, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Well, you, among all of the amazing things that you do, being in the fragrance industry for 30 years, it inspired you to write this book, The Power of Perfume. So if you wouldn't mind just unpackaging briefly for the audience, a little bit about your audience, your origin story.
Yes. Well, here's the book, The Power of Perfume. And, people don't really realize how important our sense of smell is until they lose it. And during COVID, one of the symptoms of COVID was anosmia, which means loss of smell. And people suddenly realized that they couldn't smell and then they couldn't taste. And this became part of the pandemic. And I have a perfume business, which was all the way downtown in Tribeca. And because of the pandemic, everything closed down. So that was when I decided to write my book. And as I said, one of the symptoms of COVID was loss of smell. And so I have studied perfumery. I've been in the fragrance industry. I realized how important our sense of smell is. And that's why I wrote the book, The Power of Perfume.
How did you get involved in the fragrance industry?
Quite by chance. I was actually from South Africa. I was a singer and an actress in South Africa. And I didn't really love what was going on politically in South Africa. And I came to New York and I went to see an immigration attorney and he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a singer and an actress." He said, "Well, forget that. We have thousands of out of work singers and actresses. We don't need another one. What else do you do?" And I said that my mother had always said I should have something to fall back on if I'm going to be in theater. And I had done a business and an executive secretarial course. He said, "Well, were you any good?" And by the way he asked me the question, I knew that was my ticket to America. So he said he would work with me and he would hire me and he would process my green card. At the end of the year, when I got my green card, I went to a headhunter. And during the year, I'd gone singing and acting and kept my skills up. And by the time I got to the headhunter, I got 3 job offers in 1 week. One was to work in banking, not for me. One was to work in fashion. I didn't think I knew anything about fashion at that time. Now it's a little different. And the 3rd job offer was to work at Elizabeth Arden. And that really changed my life because it was a confluence of all the things I love to do. What girl doesn't love cosmetics and fragrance and beauty and, theater and all the things that I love to do. So I landed up in the fragrance industry and sort of made my way up. I was at Elizabeth Arden for 6 years in product development, training, and marketing. Then Lancome hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. And then Tiffany hired me as executive vice president, and I created and launched and developed the Tiffany perfume. So that was quite a career move after not knowing anything about the fragrance industry and learning about it on the job.
I love that story. So you mentioned you were inspired to write this during COVID. And one of the things when I was looking at your book, you said that you focus on, some people are challenged with, number one, how to choose perfume, and then also where to apply it.
Yes.
Why, let me do it in reverse order. Why does application matter? And how do you find that ideal fragrance?
Well, that's a really great question. We all have our own body chemistry. And what might smell wonderful on one person might be totally different on another. And in today's environment, we have so many scented products, scented lotions, scented bath products, scented shower gels, scented shampoos, conditioners. And what happens is all these different scents from the bath and the shower and the body lotion, they interfere with the body, the beautiful perfume that you might want to buy and you might want to wear. And so application is important. If you douse yourself with different gels and shampoos and conditioners and lotions just because of your regular bath routine, and then you take your beautiful perfume and you dab it here and there and you think it's going to last all day, well, it really doesn't, because there are so many other fragrances that are going to overcome your beautiful perfume. And so I always say to people, try and wear unscented bath and body products, like an unscented soap, an unscented gel or lotion, if you can find them. And then that will act as a canvas. And then you apply your fragrance so that the fragrance will match your body chemistry and that will diffuse.
I love that. I didn't think about that. I mean, I do think about the I guess the conflicting
Yes.
chemical effects of different fragrances, but I didn't think about creating this canvas for
Yes.
the application of the basically the star of the show, right?
Absolutely. If you think about your body as a canvas and you put all these unscented products, like an unscented lotion, well, that'll act as a layer, and then your fragrance will not be overcome by the lotion, and that will act as a sort of nice um, uh, uh, canvas is the word, so that then does reflect and diffuse, and there's no conflict of other aromas conflicting with your beautiful perfume. And it's important because, as I said, we all have our own body chemistry. We all, the different foods that we eat, just the different oils in our skin are going to affect the fragrances. So what might smell wonderful on you might smell not so wonderful on somebody else. And that's why it's important to really layer the fragrance on a nice sort of unscented lotion that will act as a way to really help you reflect your individuality and your chemistry with your perfume.
Yeah, I think about how many times we've been in an elevator and someone comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, what are you wearing, right? And
Exactly.
we assume it's going to smell the exact same way on us, but you're right, our body chemistry truly dictates. And then it depends on, let me ask you this, I'm thinking even regionally. So I'm living in Atlanta where it's very humid. So you tend to perspire more. But I'm from Arizona, so arid climate. And
Yes.
I notice that certain fragrances, they tend, for me, I can smell a difference.
Well, you bring up a very good thing. Climate and humidity is also going to affect how your body reacts to, of course, the climate, and of course your body reacts to different perfumes. And so if you're in a very dry climate, you might really want to moisturize and layer your skin with an unscented moisturizer. If you're in a very humid climate, then it's going to obviously affect the fragrance that you wear as well. And people really they don't think about any of this stuff. And, I've been studying fragrance and I've been in the fragrance industry for many, many, many years. And so all these things really, I do think about them and I try and explain to people when I do my fragrance seminars and I meet with clients how important our sense of smell is. Our sight is the strongest, but our
Mhm.
sense of smell is the most powerful. And it's the most powerful because it connects memories and emotions and also smell and taste. So that's why our sense of smell is so powerful. And, you can walk down the street and you can smell something that might trigger a memory from when you were 5 years old or 10 years old. And it's so powerful. People don't think about it, as I said, until, your sense of smell is lost, sadly.
With the background and training that you have, are you also able to provide guidance for individuals in the holistic wellness industry who use aromatherapies, for example, for healing modalities.
Yes, well, I have been involved in many aspects of fragrance. Aromatherapy is more healing, scent healing, with some of the herbs and the natural herbaceous notes like lavender, rosemary, anise. And aromatherapy has been used for healing in centuries. It's a different concentration. Perfume really has a lot of it starts with the ingredients, and then of course you mix it with alcohol and denatured alcohol and water to give it that liquidity. But in aromatherapy, it's more the actual oils. And so, the oils are the ones that really try and get to certain pulse points. You use peppermint, say, over here to calm a headache, or I actually sleep with a lavender scented sachet pillow, and the lavender just calms me, and it also of course blocks out the light. So aromatherapy has been used for healing and for relaxation for centuries, and perfume has also been used for centuries, originally in religious ceremonies. In the ancient Egyptian times, they would use sacrifices to the gods. They would make sacrifices to the gods, and they would put on an altar of wood all the elements that they wanted to offer to the gods, and then they would burn the offerings. And through the aromas wafting into the air came the word perfume, perfumum, through smoke. So fragrances have been used for religious ceremonies, for relaxation, for healing, and also for enjoyment lately, to reflect your individuality and your personality, and to make you feel wonderful and happy and confident and uplifted and sexy and sensual and so on.
I love that. I didn't know the origin of the word, so thank you for educating me on that. Now, application. Where should we apply?
So the sort of traditional way of thinking is you apply fragrance at the pulse points. And the reason being, when you go to the doctor, they take your pulse. And that's because that's the warmest part of the body. The vein, the blood pulsates through the body. And when it gets to the veins, that's the warmest part. And we know that the terminology hot air rises. So we want to apply the fragrance where the body is the warmest. So you apply the fragrance at the pulse points, at the wrist, also at the base of the neck over here, and also I always like to say in the cleavage, in the bosom area. And it's because when you get a little hot and bothered, the fragrance will be diffused because of the warm part of the body. So that's why we actually use fragrance at the pulse points.
Thank you for that. So your book, you explained your why, but who would be your ideal reader?
That's a great question. Anybody who's interested in fragrance. This is not a very heavy book. As somebody said to me, there are wonderful chapters. It's just you can pick up the book anywhere and read about a certain part. So this is all about cinnamon, spice, and all things nice. This is just about ingredients. Then here's synesthesia. Do you smell colors and feel sounds? So there are tidbits of really interesting segments of information. And I think it's for anybody who loves life, who loves to explore the senses, who are interested in music and art and food, because there's such a correlation. And because our sense of smell is so tied into our sense of taste, people are interested in flavors and fragrances. And so anybody who has a feeling for the arts, for creativity, would be interested in the book. Also, because I too tied into, the correlation with music. In music, you have 8 notes or 7 notes or 8 notes in an octave, depending on, go from C to C and so on. And then in art, you have your 3 primary colors. Well, In art, those three primary colors, if you mix them with the secondary colors and tertiary colors, are responsible for every single color in the world. And in music, those notes are responsible for every genre of music: hip hop, rock, folk, jazz. And so in fragrance, you have certain notes that I reveal in the book, the different fragrance families. And so, what you see, what you smell, what you taste really does reflect into the world of art and music and food and so on.
So when you're talking about fragrance families, and again, I have no knowledge of this industry, but
Yeah.
I'm interpreting. Would that be like citrus would be a family, or is it
Exactly.
okay?
So you have, you know, we have citrus notes, which are all light, bright citrus, orange, lime, lemon, bergamot, neroli, grapefruit. Those are lovely, bright, light, very vibrant citrusy notes. Then you have the florals, which are the largest category. You have rose and jasmine and gardenia, lily of the valley, cyclamen, frangipani. And the floral notes, or the floral family, is the largest family. Then we go to the fruity. Then we go to the woodsy, the sandalwood, the birchwood, the cedarwood. Then go to the herbaceous notes, all the herbal notes. Then we do the spicy notes. What's in everything that's in your spice cabinet will also reveal itself in perfumery. Vanilla, amber, then you have the musks. So that's a lot to consider. So I narrow it down to four main families: fresh, floral, woodsy, spicy. And that's a lot easier for people to comprehend. And in fact, if people want to learn about fragrance, I can give a little hint. Go to the website, my website, SuePhillips.com, scroll down and take the scent quiz. And that'll really be very interesting to see what fragrance family most reflects your individuality and your personality.
When you were defining the category of notes, um, I tend to go for spice and woodsy. That's my natural go-to.
And that's interesting. So if you take the scent quiz, LaWanna, maybe that'll actually become the results that you uh, that you see will reflect you. Tell me why you like spice and woodsy notes.
It's calming to me.
Yes.
Very, very calming. I feel grounded.
Well, that's really interesting you say that. First of all, vanilla is considered a spice. Amber is in the spicy family. And those are really beautiful, calming. Think about the seasons as well. In fall, we have all those lovely vanilla notes, spice notes. Thanksgiving is really such a lovely time of year. And usually, when you think of the colors of Thanksgiving, it's those oranges and those burgundies and those sort of ochres. Those are really calming. And of course, the woodsy notes, sandalwood, cedarwood, birchwood, that's really grounded in nature, those
Mm.
beautiful notes. So I understand why you would like them.
So we're almost out of time. What what would you like our listeners to walk away with? How can they connect with you? We know your book is available. Amazon is one of the resources, but um, I think what I love about this conversation, Sue, it's one that you wouldn't normally have. I mean, it's very, very unique, and it helps me even to understand why do I do some of the things that I do. Like I just knew that it made me feel this way, but I really wasn't thinking in the way of picking an ideal scent for me, if that makes sense.
Well, and I thank you for that. I know we don't have a lot more time, but there have been fragrances through the decades that have reflected a certain political, social, and economic trend. You go back and you think of the 80s, very big, very bold. Well, the fragrances were big and bold. The hairstyles were very big and bold. The shoulder pads were big. And then in the 90s, everything retracted. And then in 2000, it was all about, the millennium and nostalgia. And then it became an ingredient story. Right now, the fragrance trend is all about individuality. It's all about, we live in a world of selfies and everybody is a brand. And so that's a way you can really reflect your own brand persona. So fragrance, you don't have to wear what everybody else wears. And what I would love people to sort of take away from this interview is that, why wear what everybody else wears when you can really reflect who you are and create your own beautiful persona, and creating a fragrance and wearing a fragrance that makes you feel confident and special and uplifted is just the best thing of all. You get such a great compliment when when you feel so wonderful when people compliment you. So I'd love people to think about that, how they can reflect their individuality with the fragrance choices they wear.
I love that. And so you can go to your website, Sue Phillips, for your own scent quiz. And
SuePhillips.com, yes, with 2 L's.
2 L's, okay. Sue, PHILLIPS.com.
Yes,
Okay.
SuePhillips.com, yes.
And I have one other question,
Sure.
because my brother, for his birthday, his daughter went and had a scent. I don't know if the word is customized or what's the correct
Yes,
terminology.
customized,
Okay,
personalized, customized.
for him. What would you advise someone if they wanted to do that and develop their own signature scent?
Well, obviously, I would love them to contact me because that's what I do. I've created fragrances for big celebrities, Jamie Foxx, Katie Holmes, Zendaya, Susan Sarandon, as well as big companies. And it's nothing better than getting a gift where you will be able to create your own fragrance. And we can either do it in person, I have a boutique, or we can do it online. And, if you do it online, you just fill out the questionnaire, we get the results, I talk to you, and then we create a fragrance and send it to you. And there's nothing better than getting in the mail your own scent. And I will tell you that we've had amazing response, because I know basically when people tell me that they love, for instance, you love spicy and woodsy. I
Yes.
would create a fragrance for you based on those notes, and I wouldn't add some other bright notes because you told me what you like. And I'm sure your scent personality quiz will reveal that result as well. So I listen very intently. I look at people. I do sort of find out what their DNA is, and then I act accordingly and I create a fragrance of them. So it's a wonderful gift for people to receive and to give.
I love that. I will definitely have to reach out to you and try my own custom fragrance.
Yeah.
And to our listening audience, Sue, thank you so much for joining us. We have been here with Sue Phillips, who is a
Thank you.
entrepreneur, and she is also the author of The Power of Perfume, available on Amazon. If you've never had a scent quiz, there it is. She's holding it up. Visit her at SuePhillips.com for your scent quiz. Have a conversation and live on the edge a little bit. Get your own scent.
Thank you so much, LaWanna. Lots of love. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Power of the Pen with LaWanna Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford, and I have a very special guest, none other than Dr. Orinthia Speakman. And this powerhouse is shaking things up. And it's amazing when we can take our lived experience, learn those lessons, and then translate them to solutions for success to others. And that's what we're going to get into. She is a resilience coach. She has a global integrative approach where she combines both her psychology expertise and her love of God, scripture, into an approach to help individuals overcome those tsunamis, those moments in life that beat you down and where you may feel depressed, despondent. And how do you get over it? How do you refresh your life? She is an author, transformational coach, and a licensed counselor. She is also the CEO and founder of Speak O Worldwide, and she believes in bridging the gap between unwanted realities to desired results. How is it going, Dr. Arinthia?
It's going great.
Dr. Arinthia has a book entitled Really God? And it's a guide to bouncing back when life has knocked you down. And we've all been there where we're like, okay, did this just happen to me? And we may come from a place of confusion, frustration, perhaps even anger, right? It's like another one, another issue.
Yes.
So I want to turn this over to you, Dr. Arinthia. What was it that ended up being the catalyst for you to realize that you had to write this book? You had to share your story to help transform life. If you don't mind just giving us a little backstory on you and those tsunamic episodes that you've experienced.
Well, thank you so much, LaWanna. As I stated earlier, I am so grateful that these levels of tsunamis took place, because I'm in a place, or I was at a place, where I experienced my father passing, who was my mentor in the ministry, my dad, because I'm a daddy's girl. Not only did my father pass within that same year, I was escorted basically out of my church, where I had served for over 9 years and was pretty much asked to leave. And then on top of that, all of that went on in this same year, I went through a divorce. So I felt like it was one thing after another thing after another thing, where I felt like I didn't even have a moment to grasp for air. And I felt that I was in my God-given assignment. So my question was, really, God, am I really going through this? Am I really dealing with these situations back to back? Am I not doing what you're asking me to do? Why is it that I'm the one that's chosen to deal with these? Kind of like that Job experience. I felt like I was going through my Job experience, and most people can relate to a Job experience. So that's why I felt that it was in me to be able to tell my story, to give others comfort in knowing that these things will happen in our life. Your tsunami may not be the same as mine, but these things will happen in life. And how do we get from that to our next?
Yeah, I don't know if you were ever told, by the old guard, just keep living, right? Like, oh, I don't get it. Just keep living. Yes. And we can't avoid challenges in life. They just happen. And I think with you and your resiliency and being able to overcome again and again, it's provided you with an instrument, a process to help other individuals navigate through these life's challenges, because we hear about what I like to call the second pandemic, which is mental well-being, right?
Yes.
And if we are unequipped or ill-equipped with the right tools and resources and community,
yes,
we can find ourselves in a very self-compromising situation. So can you talk a little bit about, because I want to lean into your professional background and I want to lean into your spiritual gifting and that intersect.
Yes. And so for me, as you stated, life is going to happen. We can't avoid it. We can't avoid going through different traumas or different incidences just in life. The goal for me when writing this book was to show people about a resiliency that's not just the basic resilience where you just bounce back from something. I'm speaking about that optimistic resilience, where strategic resilience, where you bounce back without permanent defamation to your character or who you are. Because something or someone can bounce back, but are you bouncing back with the traumas of your past? Are you bouncing back with the same old mentality or the mindset of what you went through in your going through? And so for me, resilience is not just me being able to get back up, because life be lifing. You're gonna eventually get back up, but it's how you get back up. as far as that mental capacity and that state of mind and how you be able to navigate through your process in order to get back up in a sense of positivity on how to be able to transform that process of pain to power. That's a whole because many of us, we're going to get back up. If you keep living, like you said, you will get back up. But how many people are getting back up and you're still walking in that old tsunami or that old state of mind or that old attitude, and you're allowing those things to be able to infect your now and your future, when your past is not for that purpose. Your past is to be back there for you to stand on, to get higher.
Right.
But if we are in a state where we're just bouncing back, getting back up from it, then I'm getting back up sometimes with a deformation that I'm not using in order to be able to move forward.
I like how you worded that. You know, we can self-defame, right? And we have to own that. If we want to see true transformation, we have to own where we are and be accountable for if we choose to just keep dragging that old baggage along. You know, sometimes misery loves company, and we've been suffering so long that we don't know how to shift the mindset and realize we've been transformed, we've been delivered, right?
Yes.
But we're still acting like we're in bondage, or, you know, in that state of oppression. And so look, I'd like you to talk a little bit about when you have a client and they come to you and they pour their hearts out. It's like, I've gone through all of this. I read your book and it made me excited, but I don't know what to do with it. I'm hearing your story and I'm seeing some tips, but I don't know if I can do this by myself. What do you say to that person? Or do you have programs that can actually help people navigate through their pain to, you know, a promiseful, rich life?
Yes. So for me personally, a part of why I feel so blessed to be in this station or this position is because through my educational background, I've gone through the process of getting my doctoral degree in psychology, which allows me to be able to counsel, to be able to go, because there's a major difference in counseling and coaching, and I can do both. And I've gone through the certifications in order to do both. So when I have a client that I'm dealing with, or that I'm going through the process with, there are times or moments when I have to make sure that they understand that you really need to be counseled, because a lot of people want coaching, and coaching doesn't deal with your past to take you to your future. Coaching takes what you have right now and it pushes you to the ultimate goal. Counseling will take you back to that past to bring you up to the standard so that you can move forward. So when I'm speaking with a client, I'm listening to be able to hear how they are already processing things by themselves in order to be able to map out a plan or to navigate a plan on how do we move from this to that. And that determines whatever their situation or their circumstance in that time. I do have what I call a butterfly boot camp, which is a boot camp that was made just in that moment for women who had gone through divorce, because I saw nothing that was out here at that time when I went through my first divorce that was helping women to be able to deal with their mindset, deal with their old baggage, deal with how they processed what they were going through, deal with being a single mom, or deal with being all of these entities, and helping them to be able to move forward. So there's several different approaches that I may have to a situation, but it does start with assessing where they are, and not just where they are physically, but where they are mentally.
I love that. We're going to do a quick break and come right back and talk a little bit more about how you can transform your mind and live the life of your dreams.
Join us for Entrepreneurs Living the Dream 2025 conference on October 18th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Atlanta, 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hosted by Dr. Patricia Rogers, CEO of Unity in Service and the Dynamic Visibility Team. Vendors, panelists, and speakers, this event is your opportunity to elevate your brand. Secure your seat at speakersconference2025.eventbrite.com. See you at the conference.
We are back with Dr. Arinthia Speakman, and we're talking about Really God, the guide to bouncing back when life has knocked you down. And it is, as I mentioned, Women's History Month, but the theme is diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. And I thought about when you were saying you looked around and you didn't see a program that fit you. And I want you to talk right now to some of our marginalized communities where our cultures may have conditioned us to keep things in, right? You don't air your dirty laundry. Counseling is not the things we do. And how do you help women overcome that so that they can get the support and the help they need and the resources and tools to transform their lives? Because I think this is really, really critical that especially when we're looking at mental well-being, the psychologists, psychiatrists, for marginalized populations, for communities of color, Black and brown, the numbers aren't there. And people want to relate to someone who can get the experience or understand the culture from which they come. So I'm going to turn that over to you. If you can give a little insight on that, that would be great.
All right. So one of the things that I recognize and realize about my own self is the level of transparency that I have tried to walk in through my process. I often share that I too had to go through the counseling process when I went through my tsunamis. I openly share how the fact that it is not always that we don't have the resources, it's that we're not gravitating to the resources that are being presented or the resources that are handed to us, but we're not taking it because we grew up with a background of saying, keep it silent. What goes on in the house stays in the house. What goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. Well, those things that go on behind closed doors will eventually kill you, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, financially. So one of the bigger ways in order to be able to move forward is to expose the very thing that you are in prison with. Meaning that psychological prison that has been built in our minds that tell us, I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to a therapist. Well, therapy is not for you to have that mindset that you're crazy. You're going to a therapist, to a psychologist, to a counselor in order to help you work through and sort out those things that you cannot do by yourself. One of the things on a spiritual perspective of it all is one of the things that the enemy loves to do is to keep us hidden in a corner by ourselves, which is a level of self-sabotage, because when there is a hand that's been extended to you to get the help and you're not taking it, then you are leaving yourself behind that door to be able to fend and do something on your own that you aren't educated to do, you aren't equipped to do. And so what I like to do is I like to share with people that I sat on someone's couch, that I went to get help, aid, and assistance, because the things that were going on in my mental capacity was beyond what I could do in that moment. And at that time, I did not even have my degree completed or finished. So the fact that I went to counseling was a proponent of pushing me to say that this was an area where I wanted to be able to help other people. And so one of the biggest things is to be able to expose the fact that you have gone through this and this situation is beyond what you yourself can handle, endure, and if you desire to be better, and to become the better version of yourself, you're going to have to reach out to that help. You're going to have to make that move to get to that help. And in our culture, we have been taught to be silent.
Right.
Have been taught that what we deal with is just between you and God. Well, guess what? God gives us counselors. God gives us therapists. If we research even from the spiritual perspective, Jesus was the master psychologist. But you have to be able to reach out and get the help.
I love what you said, and you said it's important to expose those things, and to expose requires us to be vulnerable, right, and break through again those limiting mindsets. Even though I think our communities and culture may have put things in place because they thought it would protect us, but ultimately it ends up hurting us, because if you feel like I can't reach out, I don't know who to talk to. And I love the fact that you share your story. You let them know, look, I was also a patient. I also went through, I needed coaching. I needed guidance. I needed support to navigate. So if I, now the teacher and physician, needed that, then, I think it places you, this is my opinion, as that trusted advisor. Right. You're not just speaking from book knowledge. It's lived experience and the deliverance that you've experienced.
Yes. And I love sharing that part or that portion of myself, because there were times when I wasn't vulnerable enough to let somebody know that I was hurting and in pain. But if you hurt long enough and you're in pain long enough, you'll go to that doctor or you'll go to that physician. So it's just a matter of you making a decision. As you said earlier, you said the word accountability. When are you going to be accountable to your better self to be able to get the help that you need? We all need help at some point in our life. We all need another hand at some point in our life. So when are you going to be accountable to your future self to say that now I need the help? Where can I get it?
That's powerful. When are you going to be accountable to your future self to get the help that you need? That's something to really, really sit in and think about, right? We can stay in that pot and suffer unnecessarily, or reach out with that support, with that community, with the guidance, and trained guidance, because I think, the word says, seek wise counsel.
Yes.
So be careful who you are sharing your crystal with, and make sure that they are accountable, because sometimes, and I want to know your take on this before, because we're almost out of time.
Yes, ma'am.
I know sometimes individuals who are not trained will go and they will so-called counsel someone, and then they bring them into such a dark space, right, that they do not know how to get them back out. And suddenly, you find out, oh, someone has committed suicide, or someone now is, in the ward in the hospital dealing with severe depression and anxiety, because they took them to a place that they may have buried so deep, right? So if you're not trained on how to bring that up, that can be very dangerous. Can you talk a little bit to our audience about that?
Yes. And so what I would say to that, LaWanna, is that we must, in part of that accountability to ourselves, to seek trained counsel. As I stated, there are some issues that we endure that is not for a coach to handle. It is for a trained counselor to handle, because when we understand the differences in what we are seeking as far as where we're trying to go in our accountability to our better selves, when you're trying to deal with your trauma, you should not be necessarily talking to a coach per se, unless they have the degree, knowledge, or the background in order to be able to deal with that situation. You should be seeking someone that you're looking for their credentials. It is very important, and it weighs my heart down how even when it comes to the church, and I can't help but go back to the church because that's a part of my background, that's a part of my deliverance, that's a part of who I am as an individual and how I present myself to the world. But every pastor, preacher is not a certified, trained coach or counselor. So we get into these dark spaces sometimes because we're expecting or we're allowing people to slap a scripture on our situation when there is much work that needs to be done in order to help you to move forward. There are processes that you have to get done. So research who you are going to with what. Because if I'm going looking for a Nike tennis shoe, I'm not going to go to a grocery store. A grocery store has products, but a Nike store is specialized in what I am looking to heal from, deliver from, get help in. And so it's my responsibility as the recipient of whatever the counsel, the coach is, to do my research and to find out what's this person's background, what's their tenure, how long, research that person.
Yeah, I love that. We are almost out of time, Dr. Orinthia. I'm going to give you some personal time with our audience to share with them how they can connect with you and any lasting message that you want to leave.
I often say that God will order your steps, but you will go nowhere until you make the decision to move. It's time to move out of the unwanted realities and time to move to your desired results. How do we do that? By reaching out to the resources that are made available to us. I am Orinthia Speakman, and I would love to be able to help you navigate through your processes, whether it's through counsel, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through seminars, books, all of those things, boot camps, and different things of that nature, because I am genuinely concerned about your mental state and pushing forward into the best version of who God has ordained for you to be. You can connect with me on Facebook at Orinthia Speakman. You can connect with me on IG as far as at Dr. O Speaks. My email address is speakoempowerment@gmail.com. And my website that you can go to is www.orinthiaspeakman.com. I look forward to serving with you. I look forward to helping you to be able to move forward to where you are trying to go into the better version of yourself.
Wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me for a special edition of Power of the Pen, where we are saluting women who are living history, making history, and changing lives such as you. So I salute you and just thank you for being transparent, being vulnerable, because your story is changing lives, and you've got a process, right? It's not just talking, you've gone through the journey. So thank you so very much for being our special guest on Power of the Pen.
Thank you for having me.
And to our listening audience, we just want to remind you that Power of the Pen comes at you every week, every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we look forward to seeing you next week for another edition of Power of the Pen. And just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, or when you feel that you're stuck and you choose to reach out to those who can guide you from the darkness into the light, just like Dr. Orinthia has said she can do, success is inevitable. We'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.